Morning mist clung to the stone-paved path leading up to a tall wrought iron gate, its black curves forming delicate antique patterns. Ivy crawled across the estate wall, shivering in the crisp autumn breeze. Above, bare tree branches groaned softly under the October wind. Emma pulled her scarf tighter around her neck, cradling baby Leo close to her chest. The warmth from his tiny body was the only thing grounding her to this moment. Less than a year ago, Emma had a stable job at the hospital, a decent life. Until the man she loved walked out the moment he learned she was pregnant. Since then, everything had unraveled. Now she was chasing what most would call impossible, a full-time job that would allow her to keep her son by her side. No one wanted to hire a single mother with an 8-month-old baby. But today, she had a chance. A job interview. In a flicker of hope, Emma tightened the blanket around Leo and whispered to herself, "I just need one person to believe in me. Just one." The gate swung open before Emma had the chance to press the bell. Its hinges groaned against the silence, ushering a wave of cold down the stone path. A man stood at the doorway. Tall, straight-backed, dark hair neatly combed, and eyes heavy with something that felt like winter. "Miss Emma Taylor?" His voice was low and husky, like it hadn't been used much lately. Emma nodded, instinctively holding Leo tighter. "Yes, and this is Leo, my son." His gaze lingered on the child, longer than necessary. For a fleeting second, something cracked across his face. A look both tender and anguished, impossible to name. Then he stepped back, voice softer. "I'm Nathan Carter. Please, come in." The mansion inside was breathtaking. High ceilings, oil paintings lining the walls, everything elegant, yet the air felt lifeless. Emma followed Nathan through the long hallway to the living room, their footsteps echoing in the silence. "Would you like some coffee?" he asked, not quite meeting her eyes. "No, thank you. He's a little fussy today," Emma replied, embarrassed as Leo began to squirm. Nathan sat, his eyes never leaving the child. "How many months?" 8, she said softly. "May I hold him?" The question caught her off guard. After a pause, she handed Leo over to the stranger. The way Nathan took him in, careful, reverent, almost trembling, was the way someone holds what they've already lost. "Have you had children?" she asked without thinking. A beat. "I did, once." After a brief, straightforward interview, Nathan made an unexpected offer. "I need someone full-time. This house is too big for just me. You and Leo will have your own room." Emma hadn't expected things to move this fast. She hesitated, but for her child's sake, she nodded. The room assigned to her was on the top floor, spacious to the point of disbelief. A large bed, armchair, private bathroom, and even a brand new crib for Leo. Every detail had been thought out, too prepared for a job interview that hadn't even happened yet. "Mr. Carter asked us to set it all up yesterday," said Fern, the aging housekeeper. "Even the crib, though your interview was only scheduled for today." Emma stood still, puzzled. Nathan had made up his mind before meeting her? But why? That first night, after putting Leo to bed, she stepped into the hallway and noticed a faint light at the end, a door, slightly ajar. Inside, Nathan sat in a fully furnished nursery, untouched but kept pristine, as if waiting for a child who never arrived. His gaze was fixed on a tiny rocking chair. Emma backed away quietly, her heart tightening. This house held more than luxury. It held secrets, wounds, and a grief that had never really been put to rest. The first few weeks in the mansion passed in quiet rhythm. Emma woke early each day, prepared breakfast, cleaned, tended to Leo, all within the echoing stillness of the grand house. Nathan was almost never home, gone before sunrise, returning long after dark. Yet now and then, Emma would catch glimpses of him at the end of the hall, silently watching Leo's room. He never entered, never spoke, just stood there, his eyes carrying something too deep for words. One morning, Nathan appeared in the kitchen unexpectedly. "I'll be home today," he said, hesitant, as if unused to the idea. Throughout the day, he didn't do much, just wandered past occasionally, pausing to watch Leo play, listening to him laugh, but never drawing near. At lunch, Leo knocked his bottle to the floor. Emma rushed to clean it, and Nathan flinched slightly. Then, a small smile. He's experimenting with gravity. Later that afternoon, as Emma tidied the study, she noticed a photograph on the desk, a radiant pregnant woman beside Nathan, his hand on her belly. "Your wife?" she asked, then immediately regretted it. Nathan's face turned to stone. "Yes. Lucia, 5 years ago. A car accident. She was 8 months along." Emma didn't speak. She simply placed a gentle hand on his arm. He pulled back slightly and shook his head. "I'm fine." But his eyes betrayed him, cracks showing through the surface. That night, Emma heard the muffled sound of grief. Nathan, alone in the nursery, holding a small teddy bear to his chest. She didn't enter. She just stood there, letting his pain have its space to breathe. By late November, the skies had turned a permanent shade of gray. That night, rain poured without warning. Emma was preparing dinner when her phone rang. It was the hospital. Her mother had slipped, fractured her ankle, and was waiting for surgery. "I have to go," Emma said, voice trembling. Nathan appeared in the doorway. "You shouldn't drive alone in this storm. I'll take you, both of you." "Are you sure?" she asked, worry etched across her face. "Absolutely, Leo comes with us." The drive was slow, rain hammering against the windshield. Leo slept peacefully in the back seat while Emma sat in silence, watching the water trail down the glass. At the hospital, her mother squeezed her hand and whispered, "Go home, darling. Don't let that little one catch cold in here." By the time they left, the roads were half flooded. Nathan made the call to stop at a roadside motel. Basic, damp, but safer than the rising waters. "You and Leo take the bed. I'll sleep on the couch," he said, his voice leaving no room for protest. Emma quietly changed Leo, tucked him in a nest of pillows. She turned to find Nathan watching, not as her employer, but as a man watching someone he quietly, deeply admired. "Thank you for coming with us," she said, settling beside him. "It's the least I could do," he murmured. "Since you and Leo arrived, I haven't felt like a ghost anymore." She turned toward him, catching his gaze. In his eyes, something quiet lived, something fragile, something real. He raised a hand, gently touched her cheek, hesitated, then kissed her, slow and tender, like awakening a part of his heart that had been silent too long. "I'm scared too," Emma whispered. "Scared to trust, scared to be left behind again." Nathan leaned his forehead against hers. "We're both scared, but tonight, at least, we're not scared alone." Leo stirred with a soft cry. They parted, the moment dissolving, but the room felt different now. Warmer, braver, filled with the hush of something quietly beginning. After that night at the motel, something in Nathan quietly shifted. Nothing grand, nothing dramatic, but a soft warmth began to color his every gesture. He started having dinner at home, sometimes sitting on the living room floor to watch Leo stack colorful blocks. One evening, Emma caught him reading aloud, his deep voice suddenly animated, mimicking elephants and dinosaurs. She couldn't help but smile as Leo burst into giggles. Then came a December afternoon. Emma was preparing dinner when Nathan walked into the kitchen, unexpected, holding a cloth splattered with food. "Leo aimed this directly at me," he said, trying not to laugh. "Chicken puree, according to the chef." Emma chuckled. "He has quite the taste." "And an impressive throwing arm," Nathan added, dabbing at his sleeve. That night, after Leo had fallen asleep, Emma found Nathan in the library. She came to thank him for being present, for bringing quiet comfort into her son's life. Nathan simply replied, "He's a good kid," and "You're a wonderful mother." A pause. Then he met her eyes. "Emma, if you ever wondered, Lucius died in a car accident, and my son Eli didn't make it either. I can't have children anymore." It wasn't said in despair, just as a truth, but in his eyes there was a soft ache, as if finally he'd found the strength to speak it out loud. February arrived softly, as if even winter didn't dare disturb the gentle warmth that had settled into the mansion. Dinners grew cozier. Late afternoons echoed with Leo's laughter as he toddled through the living room, no longer just a child between a mother and her employer, but between two people who were slowly becoming something much more. Emma felt it in the way Nathan looked at her now, not distant, but quietly admiring. And she felt it inside herself too, her heart unfolding, bit by bit. The man who once carried his grief like armor now laughed freely when Leo mispronounced the word butterfly. One evening, after putting Leo to bed, Emma stepped out onto the balcony. Nathan was already there, holding 2 glasses of wine. She accepted one. Their eyes met in a moment that needed no words. "You know," he began, voice low and steady, "I once had everything and lost it all. I thought I died with Lucia, but then you came. You and Leo didn't just bring sound back into this house, you brought it back to life." Emma didn't speak, emotions swelling silently in her chest. Nathan turned to her fully. "I know I'm not perfect. I can't rewrite the past. But if you'll let me, I want to build a future with you." From his pocket, he pulled a small box. Inside, a simple ring sparkled like a quiet constellation. "Emma Taylor, will you marry me?" Her heart beat like a first love, but steadier. This time, it wasn't fantasy. It was earned. She nodded, tears falling freely. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Leo stirred softly in his sleep, as if sensing the shift, and for the first time in years, the mansion exhaled, a deep, warm breath of love finally taking root. By late January, just as life had begun to settle, Emma opened the door to the sound of the bell and froze. Standing before her was Jason, the man who had vanished the moment he learned she was pregnant. "You're marrying a billionaire now?" he asked, half smirking, half awkward. "I saw the news, thought I should meet my son." Emma stepped back, gripping the doorframe. "You have nothing to say to me. Leo isn't a headline you just stumbled upon today. You can't stop me from seeing him. I have rights." "Rights?" Her voice cracked. "You abandoned those when I needed you most." Just then, Nathan appeared behind her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. His gaze locked onto Jason, calm but unflinching. "Is there a problem?" His voice was low but carried weight. Jason faltered under Nathan's stare. "I'm Leo's biological father." Nathan didn't blink. Perhaps, but being a father is more than genetics. It's being there. It's love. It's not walking away when things get hard. Jason flushed, looking down. "I just wanted to see how he's doing." Emma raised her phone, silently showing him a photo, Leo, beaming in Nathan's arms. "That's all you'll see today. If you care, prove it, with actions, not words." As Jason left, Emma trembled. Nathan pulled her close. "I won't let anyone take away what we've built." The wedding was set for the first Saturday of February. Everything was in place. White flowers blooming across the garden, silk-covered chairs, and little Leo dressed like a tiny groom. Emma stood before the mirror, her gown draped gently over her shoulders, hands trembling ever so slightly. That's when Nathan entered, face tight with urgency. "Emma, there's a fire at the plant. People are hurt. I have to go." Her heartbeat stilled, but she didn't ask questions. She simply stepped forward, adjusted his collar. "They need you. I understand. The wedding can wait." Nathan kissed her forehead. "I'll come back as soon as I can." By evening, the mansion had grown silent. The flowers remained, the music paused, but the guests had gone. Emma hadn't changed out of her dress, her hair still pinned. She sat alone in Leo's room, watching him sleep, her heart hollow. Near 10 p.m., the door opened. Nathan stepped inside, his face smudged with ash, eyes red from exhaustion, holding a slightly wilted bouquet. "I don't want you to wait one more day." Emma rose. "Then let's marry. Right now." They called the officiant, who was still staying nearby, In the small garden, only Fern, Carlos, and a sleeping Leo in the nanny's arms bore witness. Emma wore a shawl over her dress. Nathan's suit still bore smoke stain. No music, no fresh blooms, just vows spoken softly into the night wind. I choose you today and every day after. And Emma answered, I choose you, even on the hardest days. In the days following their wedding, Nathan was busy rebuilding the factory. But now he no longer returned to an empty house. Each evening, Leo greeted him at the door. Little hand waving, Emma waited in the kitchen, with a smile and 2 warm bowls of rice. Emma, beyond her role as a mother, began to play a key part in Nathan's work. With her medical background, she proposed creating an on-site wellness center at the plant, where workers could receive counseling after the trauma. Nathan stood still the first time he saw her leading a meeting with the HR team. I never imagined I'd return to this field, like this, Emma said, fingering her pen thoughtfully. You've always underestimated yourself, Nathan replied, eyes full of pride. I think it's time you came back to medicine, if you want to. What about Leo? We'll make space for him, or we'll open a daycare at the factory for all families. Emma smiled. You're rebuilding a whole world. Nathan took her hand. We're rebuilding it. Together. The old wounds hadn't vanished, but love, presence, and trust were stitching them closed. In every small act, from post-work hugs to 3-person dinners, they were healing. Not through magic, but through the choice repeated every day. To love, to forgive, and to keep going. Together. March brought the first warm sunlight after a long winter. In the blooming garden, Leo toddled around with a toy car in hand, laughing as Nathan chased after him. Emma stood on the porch, one hand resting gently on her belly, where a new heartbeat was growing day by day. We're having a boy, she whispered when Nathan came closer. He bent down, placed his hand over her stomach, his eyes shimmering with something soft and grateful. Gabriel, he said quietly. The name of the child I never got to hold. Emma nodded. Now we'll give that name to a child who will live, be loved, and grow up in the arms of people who aren't perfect, but choose each other every single day. Weeks later, at the courthouse, Nathan officially adopted Leo. Leo, unaware of the papers being signed, reached for Nathan's hand and called him Dad for the first time. The room fell quiet. Even the judge paused for a breath. The signing was quick, but to Emma it felt sacred, the moment the man she loved got to call her son his own. That night, they sat in what was once Nathan's room of sorrow, now Leo's bedroom. Under the soft lamp glow, Emma leaned against Nathan's shoulder. I used to think home was where you were born, she said, but it's not. Home is where someone waits for you. Someone who's willing to walk through your past just to stay. Nathan tightened his hold and never let you go. Leo stirred softly in sleep. In that warm room, peace settled, not because everything was perfect, but because they had chosen each other, scars and all. April. The sky was pale blue and the air still. Emma was tidying toys in the living room when the doorbell rang. She didn't think much of it until she opened the door and time seemed to freeze. Jason. He stood there, thin, hair patchy, skin waxy and pale. There was nothing left of the man who had once abandoned her. I have cancer, he said. Stage 4. I don't have much time. Emma stiffened, conflicted. But he didn't beg. He simply said, I'm not here to stir trouble. I just want to see my son. Once, from a distance is fine. When Nathan heard, he asked only one question. What do you want to do? Emma looked at Leo playing in the garden. If he ever asks about his biological father, I don't want to say we denied him the last thing he asked for. That afternoon, they brought Leo to the hospital. Jason lay there, frail, but his eyes lit up the moment he saw the boy holding Emma's hand. My son, he whispered, not reaching out, perhaps knowing he no longer had that right. Emma spoke softly. This is Leo. He's happy, he's loved, and he's growing up in a real family. Jason turned to Nathan, his eyes wet. "Thank you for doing what I didn't have the courage to do." He didn't try to touch Leo, just watched, eyes glistening. "Please," he said to Emma, voice thin and breaking, "if I don't make it, let him know I looked at him with love, that I wished I had been brave, even once." Emma bowed her head. "I promise." And as they left, none of them looked back. But something quietly closed behind them, a door sealed not with words, but with forgiveness. 6 months after quietly saying goodbye to Jason, the mansion echoed with newborn cries once again. Gabriel arrived on a soft, early autumn morning, dark brown eyes and tiny hands curling tightly around Emma's finger from the very first breath. Nathan sat at her bedside, and this time, his gaze held not sorrow, but life. "Gabriel," he whispered, "this time, I get to hold you." Leo, now 3, sat beside them, staring at his baby brother with wide eyes. "He's so small," he said, then turned to Emma. "Did you grow him?" Emma smiled, wrapping both boys in her arms. "Yes, I grew Gabriel. And you? I chose to love you the moment you smiled at me." They didn't need many words anymore. Life had become as natural as breath. Meals for 3, now set for 4. Bedtime stories with 2 heads resting on a shoulder. Nights interrupted by baby cries, but no one complained, only felt whole. One afternoon, as they all sat beneath the blooming bougainvillea, Nathan said, "I thought I would always live with loss. But then you and Leo came. And then Gabriel." Emma nodded, watching the 3 of them laugh together. "We're imperfect pieces, but somehow, together, we fit." Leo ran over and tugged at his father's hand. "Daddy, tell Gabriel a story." Nathan pulled both boys into his lap, voice rising in gentle, golden rhythm like autumn light. Nothing was perfect, but something was complete. A family built from what had once been broken. And now, through love, they'd pieced it back together.